everyone, my name is Seven and welcome back to my channel. Yeah, okay. Today's October 9th. Ashton made me avocado toast. I have this protein powder iced latte I've been drinking every day for breakfast because I never have time to eat breakfast at work. Without further ado, I'm going to show you all of the books that I've read. All of the books that I've read this year, which is this, and some audiobooks. I'm going to start with all of the physical books that I've read, and I'm not going to give too much detail about them because apparently people don't like book spoilers and why I read them and what I liked about it. I have an actual list written down here, and first we're going to start with the physical books that I actually have, then we're going to do audiobooks that I've read, and then lastly I'm going to tell you all of the books that I'm currently still reading and we'll be finishing soon. The first book I read this year was actually a part of this book club that I had with my little sister and my niece, which quickly died. Yeah. But the first one of the books that we read, Seed Folks, and this is just a book about a bunch of people in a community that turn a vacant lot into a community garden. It's a low-income neighborhood, and each chapter is a different point of view from each neighbor, and neither monologue repeats. So each chapter you hear from a different perspective, and then you don't hear from them again, and they all just talk about their contribution to the community garden, or their point of view on it prior to it becoming a thing and after it becoming a thing. And it's just the cutest little wholesome story. It's only about like it's literally exactly 101 pages, and I remember when I was in Barnes & Noble looking for a book, I picked this up and I started reading it, and I really liked it, and I read half of it standing there before I even bought the book. So then I bought it and then finished it in a day because it's a super quick read. It's short, it's cute, it's wholesome, and if you just want to read something that just makes your heart tingle, not give up on your faith in human nature or humanity, this is a good book. It is fiction described as city and town life, neighborhoods. There's some keywords in the publication page. One of my favorite books this year. Super cute, super short read. If you're a kid or any age, this is just a good one. I wanted to finish this book for a really long time because I picked it up at a book fair when I was in like high school, which was like many moons ago. I never read it, and it was just sitting in my collection for a really long time. And at first it was my toilet read. And if you don't know, toilet reads are books that I bring on the toilet with me instead of my phone, so that I don't scroll or just sit there aimlessly, and it gives me something to do and makes my legs go. Don't Look Back by Jennifer Armin Chow. It was just not a bad book. The story is very engaging. It's about these two best friends, and one of them goes missing, and then the other comes back badly beaten and doesn't remember what happened, and then it follows the story of this super rich girl trying to figure out what happened to her best friend. It's just a bunch of rich white people, and by rich I mean these people live on estates, like in mansions. They are trust fund babies, and it's just the story of one of them gone missing, and there's just lots of twists and turns, and the plot twists are nice, and the story is engaging. The writing isn't anything extraordinary. A 3.5 out of 5 stars, just because it's just basic, it's regular, it's repeated, the story is used, it's wrung out. I feel like I read a bunch of stuff like this when I was in middle school. To reread Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This is a book that I had to read for summer reading back in high school when I was in honors English, I think. I don't remember which year, but this book is so worn. I'm pretty sure I probably caused this water damage, but it's so messed up. This book is also another short read. Apparently it's a classic. It is science fiction. The word is, I think it's dystopian world, where somewhere in the future or past, but it was written in 1950, which is kind of crazy for its time. And it just talks about conformity. It follows this guy who is a fireman, and his job is to burn books. Normally he doesn't question his job, he just does as he's told. But then he meets this girl named Clarice, who is clearly a nonconformist and doesn't really get along with anyone in her school because she doesn't follow the rules. And Guy wonders what happens if he just kept a book one day. And it just follows the story of Guy. It's not the most fun thing to read. I did read it in like 2 to 3 days, but there was nothing crazy. I would have liked for more to happen. It wasn't bad. I definitely enjoyed it, and I liked Clarice. I just wish like there was more backstory on her. She kind of just, oh, I can't give you any spoilers. Sci-fi novel, very short, very quick read, a classic. If you want to read Ray Bradbury, I suggest reading this one. I think this book is ahead of its time. I just know I didn't love it. It didn't leave me saying, oh my god, that's my favorite book of all time. Like, it didn't leave me remembering certain parts. Like, I have some favorite books that I love so much because they touched me, they moved me, I felt for the characters, I felt like I was one of the characters. And a few of those books are like Two Fish by Janae Eiko. They have all left a mark on my soul. The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, iconic novel. I read this in high school. Never ever will forget Pecola Breedlove. The Incest Diary, published by an unknown author. This book also really good. The writing was just amazing. The imagery was amazing. It's a very dark read if you can stomach it. If you can't tell by now, love super dark reads because I have been put through the fucking machine and wrung out, so like nothing phases me. I fall asleep to Law and Order SVU episodes. It's beautiful. I love it. The Awakening, Kate Chopin, another one of those books that really made me feel something. I felt like she commits the final act of selfishness, and it's just iconic. Make me feel something. Books like these don't make me feel anything. But nonetheless, I read these this year. Folks kinda sorta had the same impression on me as these books, but not really. Open Me by Lisa Lacascio, I think it's called. I really am not sure. A friend gifted me this book, and this is another one of those books that I read in literally 2 days. This book was beautiful. The characters, not so much. I mean, I liked Keaton, but this book follows a girl who just recently graduated from high school and is supposed to be moving to Paris with her best friend, but last minute plans change and she ends up going to, I think, Denmark. She goes to Denmark and she meets this guy, and he is 10 years older than her, and it just follows their story. It's not very erotic. Actually, I expected it to be a lot more. However, the scenes in which the author describes the main character's body is extremely discreet. The imagery is amazing, and you can literally feel the sensations radiating off of this book. A good book. I will give this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, only because I wish the story was a lot better, and at some parts it got weird because I assumed that this man was just grooming this girl, but this can go so many ways. She was 18 and she was of consent, but one could argue, but also you could tell how naive and immature she still is for her age, and how I guess not super progressive, but how educated Soren's mind is, and you can tell when he knows what it is that he's doing to her. And those are the parts that really were a little wild to me. Reading books about like pedophiles being in love, not that I would call him a pedophile, but if you like romance novels, if you love a contemporary romance novel, you're going to like this. If you like something like this, but you want something a little bit spicier, you're gonna like this. Personally, this was the next book that I'm going to bring up, I believe. Personally, I fucking hated this book. I read this book in about, I don't know, a week or so, and as I was reading it, I just could not wait to get to the end. This book was so annoying. I only bought it because it was popping on Instagram, which was because it was popping on TikTok, and I should have known it was going to be bad. Personally, I'm the kind of person that likes to avoid the hype. Whenever something is trending, like a song or a movie, I will wait a whole entire year to watch or listen to it, because I don't believe that anything that's trending could possibly be good, because if the masses like it, how could it be good? That's just my personal opinion. Was a waste of my time. This book was a waste of my, what did I pay, like $17 for this? This book was a waste of $17. Emily Henry is a great fucking writer, don't get me wrong. Literally, figuratively, this book was amazing. The story was engaging. However, the characters were pissing me the fuck off. There is nothing I hate more than a friends to lovers situation in which people are not honest. First of all, I just hate a friends to lovers situation, period. Because if you were friends, there's no way that you didn't know that you liked each other the whole time. Why wait until the very last minute when things are all fucked to confess your feelings? It's so emotionally manipulative. You just know that your friend is already happy, but you think they would be happier with you, in the book, of course. And you just like choose to sabotage their relationship by telling them your feelings at the wrong fucking moment. It always happens in these stupid friends to lovers books. This book was a waste of my time. Anyone who wants this, please take it from me. I don't want it on my shelf. It makes me mad. I also just genuinely have a problem with people who are not honest. But that's just because I have changed as a human being, and I am a lot more honest in my relationship now. So people that aren't honest in their relationships frustrate me. And that's okay. This book, not for me. I'm giving it 1 out of 5 stars. Actually, I'll be generous and give it 2.5 out of 5 stars because the writing was amazing and it was a nice, easy read. It was a good flip through. Like, it wasn't a drag for me to get through every page, which was nice. But I really was just looking forward to it ending. I felt like the relationship was dragging the fuck on. Is On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I have not read it physically, but I did listen to it on Audible, which leads me to our next category of all the books that I finished on Audible this year. I love this book with my whole entire heart and soul. And I love this book just as much as I love these books. This book pulls on my heartstrings. I cry every single time I read it. I'm reading it right now, actually, for the 3rd time, listening to it actually on Audible, and each and every time I listen to it, I cry. I cry because I am a first-gen student and I have immigrant parents, and sometimes it feels like nobody understands what I'm going through. And whenever I read a story that relates to my life in some way, and I feel seen in my childhood, my inner child feels seen, it's a crazy moment for me. And this book does that for me all the fucking way, each and every page. The imagery is so beautiful. There are just so many scenes where I feel like I'm literally sitting there with him. This is another one of those books where the senses literally just come alive right off of the pages. This book, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 5, 50 out of 5, a million out of 5 stars. This is exactly the kind of book that I want to write. Like, okay, this book is I think it's a 3-part story anthology situation. Oh, kind of looks like stories. I thought the way they read it on Audible, it sounds like a poetry book. But it's a letter to his mom that she will never be able to read because she does not understand English. And I don't think that there's any more that I have to say. He just unearths all of his feelings on what it felt like being a kid growing up with her and now. And this book just makes me cry. That's all I have to say. Read it, listen to it, love it, learn the name, because this name is going to be iconic. Forgot to mention about On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is that it is, I like started my thought and never finished. It's a letter from Ocean, I think that's how you say his name, to his mom. And yeah, she'll never be able to read it. And he is the child of an immigrant, but also immigrated here himself. So he is explaining to her everything that he felt, but couldn't, because there were not enough words in his language to describe the ways in which he felt. It's a lot more deeper than that. I probably just can't describe it well enough. I listened to on Audible, or read, which I do have a copy of. I'll show you the spine, because that's what I have. And then this doesn't have a dust jacket, but I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I think that's how you say the name. And this book is a psychological thriller. It is very, very, very intriguing. I'm going to read the synopsis to you because I don't exactly remember. I just am so bad at describing things. It says, The Silent Patient is a shocking psychological thriller of a woman's act of violence against her husband and of the therapist obsessed with uncovering her motive. I don't remember how they say her name in the book. Alicia Bernstein's life is seemingly perfect, a famous painter married to an in-demand fashion photographer. She lives in a grand house with big windows overlooking a park in one of London's most desirable areas. One evening, her husband Gabriel returns home late from a fashion shoot, and Alicia shoots him 5 times in the face and never speaks another word. Alicia's refusal to talk or give any kind of explanation turns a domestic tragedy into something far grander. A mystery that captures the public's imagination and casts Alicia into notoriety. The price of her art skyrockets, and she, the silent patient, is hidden away from the tabloids and spotlight at the Grove, a secure forensic unit in North London. Theo Faber is a criminal psychotherapist who has waited a long time for the opportunity to work with Alicia. Why do I keep saying her name wrong? And his determination to get her to talk and unravel the mystery of why she shot her husband takes him down a twisting path into his own motivations, a search for the truth that threatens to consume him. This book is a whirlwind of fucking twists and turns, and it's amazing. And if you like psychological thrillers, I think you should read it. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next book, because my camera is dying. Silent Patient, I'm gonna give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was good, but I want to read along the physical copy again while I listen to the audiobook. I remember liking it, but I'm being very pissed at the end. But I'm gonna move on. The next book that I listened to on Audible was But Not Buddy, but I read that book in like 7th grade, I believe. It takes place somewhere down south in America, and it's around the time that President Hoover is president, because they talk about Hoovervilles, and it follows this boy Bud, who is homeless, or left homeless after his mother dies. Is meant to be staying with his foster family, but can't get along with anyone that he stays with, so he runs away and goes to look for this man who he believes is his father, and he is a musician, and we just follow Bud's story on his way to meeting this man who he believes is his father. It's super sweet, and from the perspective of a child, and a great historical fiction. But Not Buddy gets 5 out of 5 stars because I love anything black. This book that I read was Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, another book that I read in 7th grade, I think takes place in the early 1900s. I might be wrong. These 2 guys that are kind of like friends, or one is set to take care of the other. Lenny and George are the 2 guys, and back then there was no proper language to describe or talk about people that had mental issues or mental disabilities. Is that the correct term? It's the classic story of an unlikely pair, 2 migrant workers in California during the Great Depression era who grasped for their American dream. George and his simple-minded friend Lenny's dream, as drifters will, of a place to call their own, a couple of acres and a few pigs, chickens, and rabbits back in the old country, where land is cheap. But after they come to work on a ranch in the fertile Salinas Valley of California, their hopes, like the best laid schemes of mice and men, begin to go awry. Okay, that does not describe the book at all. Lenny and George are besties, and I do believe that George is the one that has a mental disability. Or is it Lenny? No, Lenny. It's Lenny. It's the bigger guy. Lenny's the bigger guy. George is the smaller, grumpy old guy who takes care of Lenny and gets mad at him because he fucks things up, but also understands that he is the way that he is because he is the way that he is, and doesn't let anyone treat him any way. But Lenny tends to get in trouble a lot because he doesn't really understand what's right and what's wrong, and he doesn't really understand his size, and it just follows their story of how they long for a dream of a nice old farmhouse where they can have some chickens and rabbits and a place to call their own, where they can just settle and not have to work for anyone else. Really, really good. Also another short read. The next book that I read was Passing by Nella Larson. That one was extremely short. It was like 3 hours to listen to, which is similar to the movie. I watched the movie on Netflix first, and then I listened to the book, and I also have a copy of the book, but I haven't read the book yet. And it is really good. It follows these two black women who are white passing, and one of them does it for a living, and the other one does it at her convenience. And one is married to a white man and one is married to a black man, and it just shows the difference between the two different women and their lives and how they had to exist in an era where lightness meant rightness. But Passing is a really, really, really great book and movie, and you should read it if you care about colorism or black people in America. Passing, I would give that 5 out of 5. That book's amazing. Loved the movie, loved the book. The movie had such beautiful, 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 beautiful stills. Whoever the director of photography was, or whoever does that stuff, I would love to be as great as you are. I mean, actually, I probably am. I just would love to, I don't know, experience your greatness some more. Strangers on a Train. I read that one a long time ago, and then I also saw the film, and it wasn't for my own personal pleasure. I mean, it was because I enjoyed reading it, but I didn't choose it. A friend asked me to read it for her because I was helping her with an assignment. I think it's just about this guy who meets another guy on the train, and he convinces him, Patricia Highsmith, who apparently is a great author. I loved the novel. I think I have another novel by Patricia Highsmith actually here on the shelf. As we encounter Guy Haynes and Charles Anthony Brusso, passengers on the same train. While Guy is a successful architect in the midst of a divorce, Bruno turns out to be a sadistic psychopath who manipulates Guy into swapping murders with him. As Bruno carries out his twisted plan, Guy is trapped in Highsmith's what does this say? Why can't I see? Perilous world, where under the right circumstances anybody is capable of murder. The inspiration for Alfred Hitchcock's classic 1951 film. This book was good. I preferred the book to the movie. The movie didn't have as much detail. The movie was actually kind of ass. The book was so much better, but it always is that way. Strangers on a Train, but I think I am gonna give it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is We Are Going to Need More Wine by Gabrielle Union. It is a memoir by none other than Gabrielle Union, and I have a copy of it, so I'm going to pull it off the shelf. We Are Going to Need More Wine is her first book, and then she came out with a sequel called You Got Anything Stronger, which I just recently got in the mail, and this is going to be one of my reads for next month, but we'll talk about that in a different video. Look at them together. She's so cute. Look at her. This book is a memoir about Gabby growing up, and it's kind of crazy how close to 50 these women are. She is a very iconic black actress. If you don't know who she is, you're crazy, or you haven't seen any black movies that like matter. But she also stars on Being Mary Jane and is married to Dwayne Wade and has 2 sons, I believe, and 2 daughters, Kavia Wade and Zaya Wade. I don't know why I just blanked for a second. In this book, she doesn't talk about Zaya because Zaya is trans and Zaya was pre-transition in this book. But in this book, she talks about raising Kavia and Zaya and her surrogacy journey and life after everything that happened in this book, which is her growing up in the 80s and 90s, dealing with racism, sexual assault, colorism, growing up in a middle class black family in a white community. It's just a really good book. It's really deep. It's funny. It's conversations or stories, like she says here, but it to me more of a conversation because I find myself talking back to the audiobook. And I loved the first one, so I got the second one, and they look like they're about the same size in length. But yeah, I listened to this on Audible, and I want to read it again and annotate it because there were some things on Audible that I wanted to highlight, and I don't do that when I listen to audiobooks because I just don't stop and do that. This book gets 5 out of 5 stars because, like I said, I love anything black. Last book on Audible that I read was called Disposition, and that I think was a short story by Tiari Jones. I think that's the name. I hope I didn't mess it up. And I read it because it was written by Gabrielle Union, and while I was listening to We're Gonna Need More Wine, they recommended it, and I don't really remember what it was about, and I can't really tell you about it, but I think I liked it, and I'm just going to, I read it. That's it. I'm gonna give it 5 stars again because Tiara Jones is a great writer, and I hope I'm saying that name right because I don't think I am. I love anything black. Now on to books that I am currently reading. Hey y'all, this is Editing Sev. Before I interrupt with all the books that I'm currently reading, I just want to tell you a book that I just finished because while I was making this video, or the day I made this video, I ended up going to Barnes & Noble because it doesn't even matter why, but I went to Barnes & Noble and I was just scanning the shelves and I saw this book, Monster, by Walter Dean Myers, and I picked it up because when I saw it, I literally gasped because I read this in 7th grade with the same professor that I read Of Mice and Men with, and but not buddy. And did I say professor or teacher? It doesn't matter. The point is, I literally gasped, and then I stood there, I picked it off the shelves, I read half of it standing there, and then I brought it downstairs, bought it, and finished it the next day. And I did not remember how this book went. I did not remember loving it as much as I did. I know I definitely did not pay as much attention to it as I should have when I did read it before, because the ending, the story is so gripping. The concept is so gripping. I completely forgot that it was fiction. But it's about a 16-year-old black boy who's on trial for murder, and the whole time we're trying to understand, 1, his humanity, and 2, whether or not he did it. And it says on the back, Steve Harmon's black, he's in jail, maybe forever, he's on trial for murder, and he's 16 years old. I think that's all you need to know. The only way that he can make sense of what's happening is by making what's happening into a movie. So the book is written like a screenplay or a movie, and it's so good. So good. So if you want, this is Monster, another one of the books I've completed this year. Don't know what number that is, but we'll tally it up at the end. My first current read, like as of like today and yesterday, is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I got the Barnes & Noble Classic Edition from Thrift Books because it was like $3. And so far I have gotten to, I'm on chapter 3, and the point is, this book is good. there are so many quotes in here that I love so far. Lord Henry's character really was pissing me off in the beginning, but the more he pisses me off, the more it's because I realize I'm like him in some ways, not a lot of ways. Like him trying to force Basil to share his artwork, but even though he didn't want to, I think is really weird and peer pressury, but like time period, I guess. Like there's so many quotes in here that are just so good. Like here's one that I underlined. Then I feel, Harry, that I have given away my whole soul to someone who treats it as if it were a flower to put in his coat. Like, do you ever just like, do you know what that means? Well, to me at least, like, do you ever like tell someone something that you're super passionate about and they just don't respond in a way that you, I guess the way that you want, because you want people to please you in some way sometimes. But like, you ever just explain to someone something that you're passionate about and they just like don't accept it in the way that you thought they were going to, and you just feel like you wasted your time, or you just bared your whole soul, or you were just standing there naked and they just don't get it? Like, that's what I felt when I read that line. I've decided I'm gonna make this super quick and just roll off the names of all the books that I'm reading and not give you any descriptions. The Tattooist of Auschwitz, Call Me By Your Name, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, The Apology by Eve Ensler, Moby Dick, Ask and It Is Given, More Than Enough by Elaine Welteroth, Giovanni's Room, and I'm also listening to On Earth But Briefly Gorgeous one more time. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment down below whatever books you're reading, or whatever book you've read this year, or however many number of books you've read this year. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed hearing all of the books that I've read, and love you, bye.